Okay, a great new episode of Good Thinking Signs is coming at you.
This is a fun one. We have a few, like 5 interesting signs that are kind of bubbling up from the 4 letters that we've talked about. And we talk about alphas, we talk about potency, we talk about not whispering about healthcare anymore. We talk a lot about a lot of different things and
Jack
give
of all
examples of
trades.
Jack of all trades is an interesting one. It really is.
And silvers. I mean, how can we not talk about silvers when we're talking about signs?
Right, exactly. So we cover a lot of topics. Let us know what you think of this. We're doing these monthly and would love to hear if you're enjoying them.
Yeah, and would love to hear anything we missed, anything you guys are seeing. Would love to share.
All right, enjoy. Hey everyone, it's Chris.
And Kirsten.
Welcome to Good Thinking Weekly, the podcast where we discuss the best of the best in brands, marketing, and culture.
Thousands of people, top execs from the likes of Complex, Klaviyo, Walmart, Wall Street Journal, and LVMH tune in every single week.
We run a creative consultancy in Good Co, so we know what it takes to build a good brand.
Subscribe on YouTube, your favorite podcast app, and Good Thinking on Substack for more.
All right, let's dive in.
Welcome back.
I'm back in Italy.
You sure are. And birthday vacation, success?
Birthday vacation was lovely. I will have some things to say about Comporta, but also thinking that we need to do like a hotel hospitality whole roundup email on brands because I have a lot to say about that. But also it is full on fall here and I'm not ready for it. So there's that. It's, no one told me that was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Let's dive in though.
Yes, let's,
because we got a lot to talk about and not a lot of time to talk about it, as
correct.
always. So try to make it
We'll
fast.
see how we keep this on, but a great episode of, what am I trying to say? Signs. We got a good signs episode coming at you.
So our monthly signs. So like I always say, these are not trends. These are just patterns. These are signs. These are things that are bubbling up. I think it's just interesting to look at kind of themes and things that are going on, right? And so the first one is something that I talked about a lot in one of the newsletters specifically, but then there's a few other examples that were kind of coming out in other newsletters that I thought it was fun to like pull them all together. So the first one I'm calling potent needs. You know, we workshop these names as we go through them, but
indeed,
it's really about sort of what's rising up is that, you know, it seems like the human beings on this planet are in need of feeling something. And I think it's because they're feeling a lot of things. And so they need to feel something more intense than the thing that they're feeling. So, which is
a distraction
intense.
feeling. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's not wrong. I could dig into that for a minute.
So, and I would say, you know, Jasmine Bina like wrote about this and like I referenced her article about it, but like, I think, you know, ayahuasca retreats have been kind of coming up for ages, but like I would put high rocks in there. Like it was interesting seeing, you know, who's the like episode 28,000 of Christine, I can't remember the name, the CrossFit came in and they're like rebranding. But like the truth is that CrossFit used to be kind of like as intense as it got. And then you have High Rocks come in and is like, no. Let's like turn this dial and like not just turn it up, but like make a whole new dial so that it's bigger. Like everything is just bigger and better and starts holding, you know, eventing competitions inside of the Grand Palais, you know, like it's max on max on max on max. And I think this is all a response to, we just need to feel something that is not what we're feeling now. And so the other examples I have on here are the nicotine drink. So you can now drink your nicotine instead of just chewing your nicotine, vaping your nicotine, smoking your nicotine. You can now just chug your nicotine. And what's interesting there is that they're positioning it as kind of clean nicotine. And it's clean nicotine as like a performance aid. Like it's like for concentration and focus. Like it's a dialing up of the feeling of nicotine. Like it's not like, oh, like this is just something that like takes the edge off. No. This is something that brings the edge. You know, it's not taking the edge off. It's like 100% dialing up edge. And then I kind of grouped in here like We have, like, the supersonic jets, like, everybody seems to, like, want to be moving at max speed, like, there's a million companies making supersonic jets that are gonna fly us from, New York to like, they literally go up. I was looking at how they work, and they wanna go up into space and then just, like, drop you down. It's intense, right? Like, you're gonna feel sick. It's gonna be like ayahuasca, like, meets travel. And then I had this other example in here of like now there's this new cruise that's launching this year, I think in 2026 actually. There's going to be like a 12-day cruise to the North Pole with ice breaking abilities. Like, why do we need to be doing this? Like, didn't the submarine give us enough to worry about? Like, this is giving Titanic. And then we have THC beverages, which when I was in Chicago, the THC beverage aisle was 75% of the store, and the wine was like this percent of the store. And I think it's so interesting that everyone's like, oh, everybody's like, they're curbing their alcohol consumption. Some of these THC drinks have like they make your casual like 70s smoker person look like they were like, Cheech and Chong look like chill. Like they're like basically not smoking anymore. Like these drinks are strong and you're having an outer body experience if you're going to drink one of them, like so anyway, it's all we're dialing up. Potent,
Yeah,
potent, potent.
right. I think it's 100% true. I think back to like what I've posted on LinkedIn recently or what I've read on LinkedIn or what I've connected with or what I'm seeing on LinkedIn. And I think it's 100%. I think we're more in touch with our feelings than we've been. And I think it's a combination of things. I think it's that. And I do think things are getting more extreme. And I think there is this, like, we're feeling more things. Shits. Like I just posted something this morning about you and I've talked about, and I've talked about with a ton of moms as far as it's back to school, and like back to school should feel like a relief, but it's all of these things. And I think we're just feeling more feelings in general. So I think the escapism to something that feels a little bit more extreme, like I personally know that well and I get it. And I think you're definitely putting together the dots of all of those things that somebody would not typically connect, but it's definitely out there and it's something that we're all feeling, whether we're able to put words to it or not. All right. So the swing.
The swing is like, people literally like going on LinkedIn and being like, guys, like, let's pull it back. Like, how far back can we pull things? Like, not like trying to like, become hermits, but like there was a call. It was Hector from Tiffany's, and he was like, "Oh, can we just bring back the iPod? Like, not an
I saw
phone
that.
that
Yeah.
has, yeah, like not a phone that has music, but can we just have the iPod and give our kids the iPod? Because that was pretty nice experience, and like maybe it's not like the thinner iPhone, the this, the that, has 27 AI capabilities, but like, and it's not to say take away all technology and like make people like use a fiddle, but it's like, hey, how do we find like a middle ground? And I think I brought in another example of that that I think is related, but maybe people will like not see it, but I'll try to give you my reasoning. Is there's this like alpha school that I've talked about. Some people, it's also affiliated with something called Future of Learning, and they have a program that is taking off. Like, I mean, she has 650,000, 700,000 followers. Like, it's a big movement, and it's 2 hours of school AI enabled. So there is tech. But then the rest of the school, like the 6 hours that are left, or this, however many hours are left, is like hands-on learning stuff. Like, can we build something? Can we make something? Can we go do something in our community? Can we do this? And like parents are responding to it, and they're saying like, yeah, like it's not about no tech. It's not about that. But like, can we just like slow down on like trying to like, give every kid an iPad in school, and then it's not really doing anything for them, and we're all seeing that, and we're all seeing that they're struggling, and maybe there's a better way. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's
I'm definitely seeing that. And I'm here for my son that school would be perfect for him. But I think it's true. Like I've seen a bunch of things as far as people bringing like landlines or simple kind of
yeah,
phones that like, plug into your iPhone or whatever it might be to kind of bring
the
it
tin
down. I
can.
think, Yeah, exactly. And I think to me this is a yes and it's not just a pendulum swing. It's like these things are both happening and both with much of the same group. Like I'm for
Yeah.
sure on sides of this and I think we're going to see both of those more and more and not just for these people are over here and these people are over here for both of these.
No, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year. The pendulum swing exists inside of every individual, like most of the time. Like, and actually, we're seeing that more often it's like the two extremes, and I would call these two extremes, are in the very same person. Like, like, and I
Yes.
think that that's happening, and that's why you can't like say like, oh, she's anti screens and she's anti like, like it's not about screens, it's about people wanting something simpler and then people wanting something maximalist, and those 2 things can live together in
Right.
somebody's minds.
And that ties us through to, how we feel about profiles and, doing and moving beyond just that they're making this money, they're reading this thing, like, it's so much more dynamic than that. As
Yeah.
my therapist would say, it's on a continuum. Shout out to Nan. All right, moving on. Jack of
Let's
all trades.
we could give Nan 10 shout outs on this podcast.
Yeah, it's really needed this week.
Every episode. All right. So jack of all trades. So this is, again, one of those things that I'm like kind of pulling together is like something that I'm starting to notice, right? So for a really long time, and this is like a little bit of my high horse about like the era of like performance marketing kind of dulled down brands and made them basically all generic and like they all started to look the same. They all started to feel the same. They sold the same things. They sell the same way. Like it just got I mean, we did so much damage to our culture during that time. It's just terrible. Anyway, I think what's interesting that I'm starting to see is that now we're like, no, 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 we can be more than one thing. Like, we don't have to just be, like during the performance marketing thing, it's like we sell basic sunglasses and that's all you sell, right? We sell, the best jeans and that's all you sold. And now we're saying, no, 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 like as brands, as people, as entities, because I have not just brands in here, we are willing to stretch ourselves back into like having multiple interests and be entertaining and different and interesting. So the examples I have in here are Brown Harris Stevens, which is a real estate like
Big
company,
real
like
estate.
nothing. Yeah, like not one that you would look at and be like, "Ooh, they're going to be doing something interesting." But they have like 16 podcasts and like they've created a whole studio of podcasts. But I think that's, this brand that sees itself as a real estate agent is now like, "No, no, no, like our sphere is also media and we can have this and it doesn't dilute what we are." I would throw in here Ralph Lauren and like this is how my brain works. So like you're going to have to bear with how this is all thinking. But like Ralph Lauren is now basically a vintage reseller. Like it is becoming the real or like your vintage market, right? Like they've started to en masse buy back their vintage to resell it to you in a better way. And I think it's just they've always kind of done things like that, but they
Yes, for
stopped
sure.
doing things like that for a really long time. They stopped like this is kind of going back to where brands were. And now it's like, oh, it's valued again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. Like Ralph, again, shout out to Doug Billmeyer. Like what they used to do from a vintage standpoint was amazing, and they were one of the first, if not the first. But I think the difference is kind of buying back their own vintage this time, and then
Yes.
really like moving that into a new space, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah. And I think it's saying like, hey, we can be these two things don't like compete with one another. They're just different sides of like different audiences, different things. We're on a continuum and we can have different things going on. Built and in style, making their shows, which we talked at length about, so I won't get into
Yes,
them. Newsletters, which we've also talked about, but like they are becoming job boards. They are becoming event calendars. Shop Rat this week put on like they called it a summit. She called it a summit for Fashion Week, and she had all of these different substackers. They're also becoming survey businesses and taking into like Ipsos. So they're like really, all of these businesses are saying to themselves, like, hey, we don't have to just be one thing. I can also be like a summit and an event. And then the last example that I think is really interesting. So Margiela always had a 2 on there, but it was never assigned. I don't know if you know anything about like how the tag works, but the numbers mean different things. And 2 was never assigned to anything, and now they've assigned it to art. So they just have like art that they're selling. And I think it's, again, like brands are becoming richer. Things are becoming more
Mhm.
complicated. We don't have to have things be so simple and so basic that you can just like easily throw it in a performance marketing ad and you would understand it, you know? And I think this will only increase and only add value in the world of AI, because I think this is actually something that AI can actually make sense of and say, hey, I can see that culture and clothing are connected, duh. And like do okay with that. Performance marketing did not do so well.
Yeah, it feels like the evolution of the lifestyle brand, right? And also feels like, and you and I
Yes.
personally have talked a lot about this, like it's almost like where it became that everybody like personally, career-wise was like a slash slash, and then it became, okay, oh, we can actually identify it as like you have a portfolio career. Oh, okay, we can actually like the newsletter, like it covers a lot of different things, and it's not just like only having to be one vertical. Same thing with our work. And I think like most things we see it move from the personal into now kind of the brand world. And I think it will make things much more dynamic and it's taking it to that next level. Whereas with performance marketing, you had to be able to fill out the brief and say exactly what does this
Right.
one thing. The words really, needed to be really edited down. And I think, thank God we can get beyond that. And I think brands will be even more dynamic because of that. All right.
Yeah.
The swing.
All right. The swing is, brands doing literally less, which is happening also. And I think that there is, again, I would say that there's like a continuum that's happening here, right? So these aren't like necessarily these types of mindsets aren't super different. They're just kind of two different ways of approaching this. But it's like, okay, like how can I really engage in culture? And one is saying, I can have more interest than one, and the other one is saying, hey, I want to just be like the most dynamic version of the very tiny thing that I am. And I'm okay not being this enormous thing that I don't have to be, which is because I think, again, performance marketing was basically like based on how do we take this business and scale it as huge as possible to make these numbers make sense, right? And now we're kind of realizing that that didn't necessarily work. So brands are coming off. So there's a restaurant that opened in New York this week that literally is just serving one thing a night. Like they're just like, this is what's on the menu. Take it or leave it. Don't come if you don't want to eat that.
It's
And
amazing.
then, right. And then there's like, a lot of brands that are saying, hey, I actually took the website down. I'm only going to have this tiny little store. You're going to come in. You're going to have to make an appointment to come in. And then you're going to get to shop here for 3 hours on your own. Like, that's also happening. And I think, again,
Hmm.
like it's just a different version of it. And I think it's part of the same answering the same problem in some ways in just different
Yeah,
ways.
totally. Totally. Like I think it takes the same confidence behind it. And it's
Mhm.
kind of, it maybe it's answering the enoughness, but maybe in a less than, and the other one is in a more than way. But either way, I think
Exactly.
it's addressing that. All right.
Yeah.
Silver luxury. Keep us
All right.
moving.
I will, because I know you gotta go. All right. So silver luxury, I'm just gonna say that silvers are still my favorite category. Still
Totally.
believe in them. If you don't
Still
know that about
obsessed.
me, I'm still obsessed about it. And will continue probably to be obsessed until I die.
Right. Which just makes it so much more exciting for me because I can't wait till I get there. So yes.
All right. But like one of the things that's interesting and that I say constantly too is like these people have money. These are the ones that have money. And they're actually starting to kind of influence people's brands. The right brands are paying attention to this
Hmm.
and starting to do things. But like one thing, like silver living occupancy is soaring, right? Like huge numbers. Like we're gonna have like tons and tons of people like moving into senior kind of need of living centers, but what they want is different. But there's absolutely like no stock. So that's like an opportunity, I would say. But then
Right.
like Ritz, Four Seasons, this other one, I don't know if it's called Guntu or I don't know how you say that.
I
But
don't.
like
You
anywho,
got me on that.
they are creating these like super luxury cruises that are like designed for people that don't like cruising because silvers really do love cruising. I mean, I could tell you all the things I learned about cruising hanging out with my parents this last week. And the biggest takeaway is that they just like to not unpack. Like the part
Well, I can get
but
into that. Yeah. Fair enough.
yeah, they're just really into the not unpacking thing. But this like never cruiser is quite is it more in the silver category and it's a luxury consumer who's like, I'm not really like the cruise type, but like actually they want to be the cruise type, just a different kind. Then we
Mhm.
have Pamela Anderson making her like bougie pickles with Flamingo
Richard?
Estate and like just
Yeah.
making like her look amazing. The pickles look amazing. Like everything about that is like heightened by
Love it all.
silverness.
Yeah.
We have
Really leaning into that.
yeah, and then menopause brands like MIDI basically being like, "This isn't niche, like, we can, like, talk about this," and, like, that's a big opportunity and money being spent by these women. Some of them are not
Huge.
silvers, right? Some of them are, like, slightly younger than silvers, but it's a category of age. And then the last one is the Oura. I don't know if we've ever talked about this campaign, but I really like it. We saw it when we
I
were
think
in
on the
London.
I don't know if we have on the pod. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've talked about it
it's like
personally, but yeah.
Oura Give Us the Finger, campaign where they really leaned into kind of like sexy, like good-looking silvers, and like those
Mhm.
again, those products are expensive, right? Like
Mhm.
the Oura rings are not cheap, and they're realizing, hey, that consumer wants that, needs that. They want to be made to look and good and feel good, but they also have the money to spend on it. So like let's like go after it. And I think brands that are getting it are really getting it right.
Right. Right. And huge, just like continued soapbox of like it's such an opportunity for brands to really do this, and I think the bar is raised for the brands that are in this space, like what Flamingo Estate did, for example, of like it's no longer we see so many of the Metamucils and the all of the things that you and I trade back and forth on Instagram that is so like mediocrely done and such an opportunity to take it to the next level, and those ones that are in this space are just booming.
Yeah. Bougie, silver focus, Metamucil would kill.
Yeah,
The pendulum swing, I would say, and again, it's really not a difference. Like, it's just how we're all doing it, right? So the silvers are saying, I don't want to be made to feel old and I have money to spend and I want to be spending on brands that are making me feel good about myself, right? And are doing things that I like and get me, that I travel, that I'm not like, sitting on an armchair. But then the younger cohort is saying, like, hey, like, actually, like, I don't wanna get old either, but, like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm trying to not get old. And so, like, there's a lot more, like, pulling back of, like, saying, like, I'm gonna microdose, like, GLP-1 so that I don't look like I'm, you know, like, we all know those friends who are on it, and, like, suddenly it's like, "Wow, okay." And that's great because sometimes people really need that, but, like, sometimes you
hmm
wanna go slower. And then there's blood cleaning that's happening. There's, AI driven healthcare. Like we're basically like biohacking our way to never be old in the first place. So we're like, okay, but when we get old, we don't want to be feeling old. So it's all about kind of like avoiding the oldness in different ways. No one wants to feel like they're ancient.
Totally, and I think it's just the next version of it. I went away over the weekend to, like, one of my best friend's 50th birthday, and so everybody was kind of that age, and then we did the Golden Girls conversation, like, the fact that they looked then and they were I think actually some of them were 40, not even
Right.
50, it's like it was a mix,
It was the
and it's like, it's just
hairstyles.
that's what apparently yeah, that's part of it, but also just, like, what society saw or created, like, what that was is so different than today, whether it's, like, the campaigns that are really doing it and like Aura and what Flamingo Estate did and kind of showcasing it in such an inspirational way or kind of the biohacking, which I'm also here for.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a completely no judgment zone. I love a little biohacking. All right. So next one I'm calling cosign households. And we've again talked about this like kind of in a lot of newsletters. So I'll go through it like pretty quickly. But it's really about the concept that nowadays alphas and parents' relationships are much more intertwined. You see it in your own relationship. I see it in mine. I see it in literally every friend I have. The parent is looking at the child not with disrespect and being like, oh my God, I can't believe what like trashy shit you're doing. And they're more like curious about it. And it's not going to necessarily always be for them, but they're much more willing to kind of go there with their kids. And likewise, then the kids are like involving the parents and partially because the parents have the money, but like, like an intertwined relationship. It's much more like two decision makers in a household these days.
Mhm.
And I think what was really interesting, my favorite example of this was the K-pop Demon Hunter sing-along that, like, took
I'm here
off.
for. It's our
I
favorite
mean,
movie right now, so yes.
so my brother went to the K-pop. He got tickets and he took his
Bless him.
son. And Marcel was singing his heart out in the little video that I have. And if I could post it on the internet, I would. Not only was he singing his heart out, but my brother was also singing his heart out.
Well done,
And they
Matt.
had trained for it like the whole week. Like they were like training back and forth to school, learning all the words. And I
That's
think
really
that
leaning in.
is
That's really leaning in.
right. But that is what's happening, and I think, like, that has always good parents have always done that, but, like, I think there's just m many more involved parents than there were, and so I think the brands that kind of get that, like, I really like the Little Spoon Siete meals because I think they understand that, like, parents aren't really, like, super thrilled about serving their kids, like, trashy, terrible food, like, all the time that doesn't have any flavor, like, they want their kids to develop these things, and actually their kids have quite developed palates now
Mhm.
because their parents
Yes.
have involved them in eating from a really young age, and so they're not just, like, on the chicken nugget route. I'm still there, but, like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's,
that was dinner last night, so, a yes and.
again, no judgments. And then I would say the pendulum swing to this one is just kind of like a pulling back of, so I would say what's interesting to me, again, like just to make it click for like why it's a pendulum swing, is that the alphas and the parents are quite interested in mainstream things. So like the K-pop Demon Hunters thing, like you're in LA, he's in Chicago, I'm here in Italy, we're all watching the same movie. And that's like alphas are still quite okay with the mainstream, and the parents are, you know, flowing right into that because the alphas are into it.
Mhm.
Whereas the, like, older Gen Z cohort and, they're that are so the older Gen Z have the kids, but the younger Gen Z are saying, like, basically, like, "Yeah, I'm really, like, not feeling like involving anybody's opinions in anything." So instead of going onto, like, Instagram and looking through the comment section like they used to, now they're turning to the group chat, and they have all of these, like, all of the Gen Zs have different group chats for different things. And if they really want an opinion on something, they'll just drop it into the group chat. They're not going to go on Instagram or TikTok to find out if they like it or not. They might learn about it on TikTok, but they're going to garner opinions from a much smaller group of people. And so they're
Mhm.
kind of like looking at the mainstream, but then they're really care about their very like small, tiny bubble.
Right. I think that's a really interesting thing to watch and see where that goes. We were talking about that with a client yesterday, and it's just so interesting to me, like, how niche it has gotten. Like, it's not just like, oh, somebody that does kind of it within this group that loves sports or loves pets or whatever it might be. It's like, no, 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 it's like niche down to specifically, the age, the focus, the all of the parts and pieces, not just kind of the generalization of it. And I think there is expertise in that. So I'm really curious to see, like, if we're moving from the comment section, where this goes and how it can kind of help brands and where you can really pull insights from.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that one of my friends who's a slightly, like, kind of more in the millennial, but I think it, like, speaks to this, like, he's in a menswear chat, and he, like, literally is, like, asking his friends for, like, opinions on outfits in the chat. So, like,
Love it.
that's what's happening.
Love it.
Alright. And then the whisper no more, just to get to the end of it, and again,
Yes.
we've talked about this at length, so it will be easy, is
Hmm.
no one is interested anymore in healthcare issues being whispered. So, we're talking about herpes, really loud and proud, with fun energy, like that website that New Zealand made was like, you wanna share that with a friend, right? Like, it's
This was
funny.
great. Like, I love this. You posted on LinkedIn about this. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, but the algorithm doesn't like me talking about herpes, but I
Right.
really
Fair
liked
enough.
this campaign. Then we have Cutler Center for Men, which really looks more like a sports lounge. Like Emily Sundberg called it like, a members club. I think it looks a little bit more sports than that. But it's like we're going to talk about men's health. We're going to talk about it in a fun way. We're going to make this like a conversation that should be had. MIDI Health has been doing the same thing. A lot of menopause brands have been doing the same thing, like bringing those out of the ether. Then we have like health, and there's Fountain Life, which I don't know if we talked about Fountain Life, but it's founded by Tony Robbins and like another doctor. But they're bringing sort of AI into things. And when you look at these websites, they make standard healthcare look completely antiquated. Like you're like, why would I even be going to a regular doctor when like this is the option? And I think that makes you want to talk about health, right? Because if you're like, oh, I can be proud that I'm going to the
Mhm.
doctor, not like, oh my God, I'm like not sure what's wrong with me. Like I shouldn't be like my age, I shouldn't be going to the doctor. Like we're not interested in that. We just need brands to let us be proud of it. Right. So I think the brands that are doing really well are letting us be proud of it. And then I pulled in here like the gym brands that I think are also kind of touching on this, where they're really bringing out like, hey, we want, like, we're not just interested in our our physical health, but we're also interested in our mental health. And so much of that now goes down to loneliness, and really talking about that and saying like, hey, we are addressing loneliness too as a side of things. And then the pendulum swing is really like, again, the like undetectableness, like not wanting to show anybody anything. Like, so the micro facelifts that like, the Lindsay Lohan moves,
I mean, people notice that.
The Kris Jenner, but like, it's like you notice it, but you also don't like, yeah, it's supposed to
Still
be
looks like her,
undetectable.
both of them.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
fair enough. Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
mean, I
That's
think
it.
this is a fascinating shift because it's really like a societal one. It's moving away, I think, from the shame of something to like not just like taking away the shame, but moving into an inspirational one of like wanting to talk about that. And I think that's so encouraging and empowering.
Yeah, but I think the brands that are cool enough that allow you to talk about it is also great. Like, not only should they be talking about it on our behalfs, but they also should create something that we want to share with our friends, that we're proud to share when we finally are, and we are having these conversations. So I think there's that too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think any great brand is that's what they're doing. Like you're not just creating something that you see, you're creating something that like I see, I get inspired by, and I want to share with you. Like
Yeah.
that's the unlock for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
All
This was
right,
fun.
we did it. Just a little
Okay.
over 30 minutes. Well done.
All right. Ciao, ciao.
Till next time, stay curious.
That was it for this episode of Good Thinking. Don't forget to tune in next week.
If you found this valuable, subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast app.
And don't forget to read on Substack for even more insights.
And if you really liked it, drop us a heart. We'd love to hear from you.
Ciao. Until next time.